People of Reddit, what stupid rule at your work school backfired beautifully? I was working as a medical assistant at a private practice medical clinic. Our clinic manager wouldn't allow the new receptionist to drive to the bank to deposit cash. Made her walk carrying the money bag so that she couldn't drive away with the money. Bizarre. I know. That went on for a few weeks. Then the receptionist was mugged and over $1,000 in cash was stolen. She was allowed to drive after that. My boss started putting all staff required to start 15 minutes earlier than indicated on the roster. I started keeping track of my unpaid overtime and stung her for 3 paydays off. That is not required anymore. I worked for a company that did that. One lawsuit later, they don't do it anymore and owed a lot of us back pay. Back in the early zeros, my high school implemented a policy that you had to wear your ID tag at all times. If you didn't have it on, you were sent home. So many students lost their ID tag to go grab food or skip a class. We were the only graduating class to wear them all 4 years. The policy ended soon after. My school had something similar, required IDs with provided lanyards. Failure to have it resulted in getting a shirt sticker from the office and a detention, which was aiding the custodial staff in the afternoon. Nobody liked this policy much. I worked at Starbucks for like 5 years before and during undergrad, and at one point our district manager thought it was a good idea to implement a just say yes policy, where we literally were not allowed to tell the customer number. Lasted for about 3 months, and in the 3 months our unaccounted product and waste went up over 300 because when the post did not have a way to punch in a customer request, we had to just do it anyways. We also got complaints from stores in surrounding districts because they had angry customers who were requesting things that were against local food service code, and told them that we did it for them at our store. I knew exactly how the policy was going to play out, and I just laughed every time management was freaking out about the problems it was causing. Give me all the money in the cash register and make me a free iced coffee. My spouse's workplace realized they did not have a policy about sending sexual images or jokes as part of their email acceptable use policy, so they added it. Except they made it a firing offense to send or receive sexual content. I think the intent was to stop people from subscribing to such content. They also said that your access would be immediately revoked until a determination was made. So someone got fired for something else and decided to send their whole management chain a graphically sexual image, then report it using the anonymous tip line. IT got the report, concluded they did indeed receive sexual content, and did as required, suspended all the involved email accounts, including the SVPS. The policy has since been reworded. The bottom floor of my secondary school was a square that had corridor all the way around. After some incident where a kid got knocked over, they implemented a one-way system. Unfortunately, they were very strict on enforcing it. If you accidentally walked past your class, you could not just turn around. They seemed very proud of their new rule, until everyone started showing up late for class because they had to do extra laps of the bottom floor. That is ridiculous. My daughter is experiencing this with COVID one-way rules. They are only actually in school once or twice a week between snow and hybrid, so none of them know where the heck they are going. And if they miss, they have to go around again. Every shift, there is a quota we need to fulfill, and then, even if you do fulfill it, you have to keep working until your 8 hours are up. Cue everyone speeding for 4 hours, having a 3-hour lunch coffee break, then slowly moving their ass for an hour. No rule about us taking necessary breaks if we are still capable of reaching the quota. Now we are allowed to stop once we're done. Geez, a 3-hour lunch break is one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. A place I used to work had a rule that executive level staff needed to be contactable when on leave. So they had a section on the leave form for the address of where you had be staying and a contact number. Some knuckle shuffler in our decided it applied to all staff, and the shenanigans began. People would put down the address and phone number of sex shops, sports grounds, medical clinics. I gave the latitude and longitude of the place I was going camping and the UHF frequency channel my radio would be tuned to. I once had a manager tell us we couldn't hang out with each other outside of work unless we invited everyone. No. In Las Vegas, the fire departments had a policy that if someone called out and you covered their shift, you get paid overtime. Eventually, every firefighter at every department was trading shifts so that they were always making overtime. Went on unnoticed for over a year. It was a huge scandal, and the ones in charge who let it go on and effectively cost the city millions had the book thrown at them hard. Something similar. We had two tea ladies that both worked 5 days each. They figured out that if they each worked 1 week on 1 week off, they did get paid more with the overtime. What is a tea lady? To make moving between classes more efficient, they had designated up and down stairways. But they did not take into account that the stairs were located at the ends of the very long corridors, which meant it was impossible to get to your next class on time. Because of this, no one bothered trying to get to class on time and just blamed the stairway rule. Should have taken their cues from Wayside School. Everybody goes up on the left and down on the right. Or similarly, have 2 elevators. One that only goes up and one that only goes down. Back in 2011, a company I worked for had the bright idea to block all social networks because, employees should work instead of slacking off on Facebook. I could write volumes of books on the toxic culture in that place. But the owner-president, who lived in a different country and visited about once every few months, was universally feared by everyone, and a few days before his arrival the whole building went into panic mode. So a few weeks after the social network ban, His Royal Highness shows up, and 5 minutes later half of IT department is scrambling to his office. Apparently there was an issue with the Wi-Fi. Or at least that's what he figured, since he couldn't log onto Facebook. It was fixed in seconds. A few years and 3 promotions later, I make a joke about it with him. Instead of laugh, I get a confused look. Turns out he still thinks it was some internet problem, since whoever decided to ban social networks didn't have the balls to tell him about it after the incident. A long while back. But my school banned the color pink because a bunch of students were wearing it one October and they thought it was a gang thing. It was for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The rule did not go well for them. My principal banned pink silicone bracelets. They were being sold in town to raise money for breast cancer. 6 months later she had to have chemo to treat her breast cancer. It's not really funny, but it is kind of ironic. Did she maybe already know she had cancer and misguidedly banned them because seeing it everywhere all day in her school made her remember and get sad? Could not buy drinks at lunch with cash money. Had to buy some voucher. They were just cheaply made laminated pieces of paper. This was 2001. I was 13 and bored. Scanned the vouchers and printed them out on paper that kinda matched the color of the vouchers, and laminated them myself. They were horrible made and not even the right color on the backside. Also crudely cut out. I made about 100 of them, have passed them out after I tried paying with them for myself and encountered no problems. Made some new friends and up production. Took them about 3 weeks to find out, but by then the fakes ones had intermingled with the real ones and had already been resold to students via the student office. About half of the vouchers sold were fakes. Drinks were cash only from then on. They had no choice to accept the fakes one for a little while longer though, as they had sold and charged for some of them. Late 80s high school rule was no shorts. Classmate came for an exam with basketball shorts on that were below her knees. Teacher made her go home to change. She came back in a micro mini skirt and wrote her exam. My high school principal was known for sending girls home to change if their bra straps were showing. In my sophomore year he tried to send one of my classmates home. But she was like, "Nah, I have got a change of clothes. No need to send me home." So she went to the bathroom, took her bra off, and made a show of putting it in her locker. The principal was pissed, but could not do anything about it since she technically was following the dress code. It became a thing. Like, hundreds of high school girls were moving their bra at school or just showing up braless as a big duck you to the principal. The private school where I used to work hired a second deputy head, whose main function seemed to be creating rules and policies without stopping to consider whether they were really needed. Their peace be resistance was to give all the students little laminated cards advising them that if they were being harassed for some reason, this person always pronounced the word as harass, they were supposed to tell their tormentor, "I have had enough. I want you to stop saying that." The students all in their mid to late teens. Reacted predictably, most of the cards were soon spotted floating in the river that ran through the village where the school was located. And the phrase "I have had enough, I want you to stop doing" saying that was used frequently by students to whichever member of staff asked them to comb their hair, make their bed, settle down and work. I do remember asking one of the school's star rugby players whether the phrase had ever been used the way it had been intended. And his response was, "Yes, but I kicked the guy in the balls while I said it." In chemistry class we had plastic bottles of distilled water which could be squeezed to produce a small jet of water. We used to spray one another's crotches to make it look like you'd EB'd yourself. To counter this, our teacher introduced a punishment to anyone caught spraying or having been sprayed. Hence, if you could spray someone and get away with it, they would have wet trousers and have to write excerpts from a Martin Luther King speech. Needless to say, the punishment for being sprayed was quickly abolished. Because victim blaming always works out. Required every employee to use electronic time clocks to punch in out for work, including lunch. Punching in late or leaving early would cause your pay to be docked and getting a discipline letter. Multiple people wanted to sabotage the clocks, cut the cords, etc., but wiser heads prevailed. Everyone arrived several minutes early and left late, every single day, to avoid getting into trouble. Unfortunately, this created unimpeachable evidence of hours worked. The employer had to pay out thousands of dollars in overtime the first month. The clocks disappeared exactly 5 weeks after they were installed with no notification. Students used to smoke in the toilets, so headmaster decided to lock all male toilets except one, 5 places in one. Now my school had around 700 students, out of which around 300 were male. Everyone realized that it became impossible to go to the toilet quickly. Result: some guys went in one and defecated in all the trash cans. A lot. No one found them, but all the other toilets opened up immediately. Boss bitched and complained that we all welders and millwrights took lunch and breaks whenever we felt like it, actually just when we got the chance, and implemented a rule that if you didn't take your break lunch at the right time you didn't get them. Myself and another welder got sent to do a repair that was about a 2-hour drive from the shop first thing in the morning. Boss said it was going to be a quick fix, so we didn't bring our lunches. We needed the machine running ASAP because it was costing $250,000 an hour for downtime. Turns out his quick fix was a pretty major welding job, and required us to completely rebuild a motor mount. The operator knew this and had told the boss that was when needed to be done. Well, guess what, boss man? If you'd just let us take our lunches and breaks when we wanted, or had at least told us what the actual job was, we wouldn't have driven 2 hours to the job, done 1 hour of work, driven another 2 hours back to the shop, ate lunch at noon like we were supposed to, and then driven 2 hours back to the job to finish it. I went to a strict Catholic school with uniforms. The kids in 4th, 8th grade had to wear belts until we got a new principal who made it mandatory for all the kids in the school to wear belts. Many bathroom accidents from kindergartners, 1st and 2nd graders later, and complaints from parents. Of course, the principal rescinded her addition to the dress code. More recently, this principal was fired for embezzling money from the school. I bet she also owned the only belt store in town. Ha ha ha, you are probably correct.